cluster, and it is now detachable from the necklace. Her Majesty was so delighted with the set that in 1957 she had a relatively simple tiara made to wear with it. This was a diamond and aquamarine bandeau, surmounted by 3 vertically set oblong aquamarines. In August 1958, the Brazilian government added to their original gift with a bracelet of 7 large oblong aquamarines set in clusters of small diamonds. There was also a brooch to match the original setting of the pendant, a single large square aquamarine in a simple diamond setting. In 1968, the Queen and Prince Philip made their first state visit to Brazil, and the governor of São Paulo presented the Queen with a V-shaped herald ornament, as it was described at the time, also made of aquamarines and diamonds. In 1971, the stones from this were used to make 4 scroll-shaped motifs for the tiara, positioned around the 3 upright oblongs. A collet aquamarine was placed on the tip of each of the 7 vertical ornaments. The Queen wore the Brazilian parure when she gave an official dinner aboard Britannia during her 1986 state visit to China. Her pale blue lace evening dress was a perfect foil for the aquamarines. Okay, so let's turn the page. Oh, look at that. Let's have a look at some of the jewellery itself. So this is the Kent demi-parure, and it says the Kent demi-parure is the oldest set of jewellery in the royal collection and was owned by Queen Victoria's mother, the Duchess of Kent. I think that might be her, who, as the widowed princess of Leiningen, had married King George III's 4th son in 1817. When she died at Frogmore on the 16th of March 1861, aged 75, she left all her property to the Queen, and Prince Albert was named sole executor of her estate. In the 19th century, amethysts were very popular and as a result quite valuable, and in her 1901 will, Queen Victoria left these jewels to the crown. The set consisted of a necklace, 3 brooches, a pair of earrings, and a pair of hair combs. So it says above left. So in this picture, in this engraving, after the 1839 miniature by Sir William Ross, the Duchess of Kent wears only the brooch, which I think is there. And then above right, Queen Elizabeth also wore only the brooch, as she, the King, and the 2 princesses looked over the itinerary for the royal couple's forthcoming visit to the United States and Canada in 1939. So there it is again. And then down here, Queen Elizabeth II wearing the demi-parure on the state visit to Portugal in 1984. The central pendant with its small diamond drop matches the earrings. Yeah. Princess Anne photographed with her mother to mark her first birthday in 1951. She is not only wearing the same necklace and playing with the same rattle, but the picture was taken by the same photographer, Marcus Adams. Diamonds. Okay, I'm not going to read all this. I think we'll go to pictures because there's quite a lot of it. And again, I cannot remember whether I've read that before. Yes, there's an awful lot about diamonds. Okay. Queen Mary's Girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara. Wow, look at that. In 1893, a committee was formed by Lady Eve Greville to raise money from the girls of Great Britain and Ireland to purchase a wedding gift for Princess Mary of Teck, the future Queen Mary. They collected more than £5,000, and after buying a diamond tiara from Garrard, the surplus money was given at Prince Mary's request to a fund that had just been set up to aid the widows and orphans of the men lost after the sinking of HMS Victoria. In her thank you letter, dated the 4th of July 1893, Princess May wrote, I need scarcely assure you that the tiara will ever be one of my most valued wedding gifts. As a precious proof of your goodwill and affection, the tiara was a diamond festoon and scroll design surmounted by 9 large oriental pearls on diamond spikes and set on a bandeau, base of alternate round and lozenge colettes between 2 plain bands of diamonds. So I'm aware that I have said just then Princess Mary of Teck and Princess May of Teck. I actually thought she was Mary, but maybe she was originally May and then became Mary. I don't know. If anybody knows, please let me know in the comments. So, here she is with the tiara. There, I think that must be the same tiara above right here. This photograph taken in 1949 shows the Queen wearing her first tiara, which she still affectionately calls Granny's tiara. She is also wearing the smallest watch in the world. Gosh, yeah, look at that. Made by Cartier. The dial measured only 1/16 of an inch across and was set in a bracelet of 32 miniature platinum squares. Her father and mother, on a state visit to France in 1938, accepted it on her behalf from the President of the French Republic, Monsieur Lebrun, as a gift from the French people. Princess Elizabeth was then 12 years old. She wore it almost daily, even at her wedding and coronation, until the 13th of January 1955, when she lost it while out walking the dogs at Sandringham. Despite an intensive search by the police, farm workers, Boy Scouts and even soldiers with mine detectors, it was never found. In 1957, when she herself made a state visit to France, the government presented her with a replacement that was nearly she paid an official visit to the opera in 1839. So in this picture, well, it's a painting actually, above in Winterhalter's painting, the 1st of May, made in 1851. She wears it as she holds Prince Arthur, the future Duke of Connaught, while his godfather, the Duke of Wellington, presents him with a jewel-studded gold box, and Prince Albert looks on. And then it goes on to say, in her will, and then it goes on to the next page. The necklace was one of the items Queen Victoria left to the crown, and it was then described as a diamond fringe necklace. Now, opposite above left, I think this picture, I guess. It was inherited by Queen Mary when she became Queen Consort in 1910, and she in turn gave it to her daughter-in-law, the new Queen, in 1937. And then opposite, above right, when Queen Elizabeth, now the Queen Mother, first appeared in it at the Duchess of Sutherland's coronation ball at Hampton House, MP Chips Channon noted disparagingly in his diary that she wore white and an ugly spiked tiara. She wears it here in 1953, and then opposite below left, she loaned it as the something borrowed to her daughter Princess Elizabeth for her wedding in 1947. As the princess was getting dressed in her second-floor room at Buckingham Palace before leaving for Westminster Abbey, the frame snapped, and the court jeweller, who was standing by in case of any emergency, rushed to his workroom with a police escort. Queen Elizabeth reassured her nervous daughter that it could be repaired in time, and it was. Imagine having an emergency jeweller on standby at your wedding. How strange. Okay, opposite below right. Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, loaned it again to her granddaughter Princess Anne for her marriage to Captain Mark Phillips in 1973. The princess wore with it the diamond flower cluster earrings that she had been a wedding gift from her mother, the Queen. Now this one is Queen Alexandra's Russian Kokoshnik tiara and Queen Mary's floret earrings. I think we might have had a look at these already, but there's nothing wrong with looking at them again. So, opposite above here, on the 10th of March 1888, the Prince and Princess of Wales celebrated their silver wedding anniversary at Marlborough House before they hosted a large family dinner party. Princess Alexandra received Lady Salisbury hierarchies of society gave a lovely diamond-spiked tiara. Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother's scroll tiara. Above left, the scroll tiara was one of about half a dozen tiaras that the Duchess of York wore between her marriage in 1923 and her accession to the throne in 1936. This photograph with the Duke was taken just weeks before King Edward VIII's abdication. Queen Elizabeth still wears the diamond and pearl drop earrings which she has had since shortly after her marriage. The diamond tiara with its fan-shaped motifs was given to the Queen, but she has never worn it in public. And then to the right here, she loaned it for a number of years to her sister Princess Margaret, seen here in 1962, and then to her daughter Princess Anne, who wore it for this 1973 portrait by William Narraway. Now this is Princess Andrew of Greece's Meander tiara. The word meander derives from the river Meandros, which in ancient Greece inspired a classical design of regular lines set at right angles to each other that was often used both in architecture and works of art. Yeah. Queen Mary's cluster earrings. Each of these unusual earrings has a large, brilliant cut diamond sunk into two concentric circles of small diamonds set in platinum with a milligrain edge. Queen Victoria's stud earrings. Two perfectly matched, large, brilliant cut diamonds which Queen Victoria had set as ear studs. And it looks like she wore them in this picture, which was taken in 1873, when she was 54. The Queen's pearl drop earrings. These modern gold set diamond stud earrings with large pear-shaped drops were made from family stones. And then this is the King George VI chandelier earrings and festoon necklace. They definitely look like chandeliers. They were a wedding gift to Princess Elizabeth in 1947 from King George and Queen Elizabeth, but it was not until she had her ears pierced that she was able to wear them. When it was noticed that she had done so, doctors and jewellers found themselves inundated with women anxious to have their ears pierced as well. Queen Victoria's Colette necklace and earrings. Queen Victoria left her Colette necklace and earrings to the crown in 1901. They were made in 1858 from the 28 Colette stones that she had priceless sound